Maluch Racer 2 was a big part of Polish childhoods. The game, as well as its predecessor, allowed you to drive around the iconic Fiat 126B. It's a car that has special history attached to it, and with the help of Play Publishing, you are able to drive the car virtually. So having a game that lets you drive around an iconic Polish car around various fictional places in Poland, well, it's a pretty damn cool idea. What many players don't know, however, is that there are various versions of the beta floating around, with many differences from the final game. And furthermore, there are even multiple versions of the final game too. So in a cutting room floor style video, we are going to be dissecting all the versions of Maluch Racer 2 that I was able to get my hands on, and show you guys all the changes that were made. The first version of the game that I'm going to be showing you is the Too Fast Driver 0.96 Radeon beta demo. Too Fast Driver is the English name of the game, and when Play was looking for international publishers, they created a demo that one could request. The demo was later leaked as it was stored on an FTP server. The demo was compiled on the 30th of January 2005 and was advertised on Play's website 2 days later. The website implies that there may have been an earlier demo, however I don't believe anyone has access to this one. But before we launch the game, let's talk about the game's files. There's only one track available in this demo, and that's Nocne Miasto B. The interesting thing, however, is that the image for Nocne Miasto A is used, and even in the files it shows it as A. When we click on the folder, we can see that all of the game's assets are here. They aren't compressed within a single file like they usually are. There are even B3D files. These are files used within the Blitz 3D engine. These files could potentially be used to rebuild the cars and the track within the engine, but I'm not fully sure. All of the assets are here, including the menu elements, car textures and city textures. What is the most interesting file here, however, is a screenshot of the Maluch Racer 2 0.96 version. This is very likely not a demo, and instead was the full game, as the supermarket track is unlocked and not mentioned to be a beta. This is likely the only Maluch Racer 2 0.96 version we will ever see. The metadata shows that this photo was edited in Photoshop and was taken on the 11th of January, weeks before the Too Fast Driver demo. Once we launch the game, there is a CGI intro that the final version of Too Fast Driver has. This intro is not present on Maluch Racer 2 and was likely a leftover from a cancelled game called Tuning Racer. Not much is known about Tuning Racer, and even its box art is a placeholder, using artwork from Bugmania, which didn't come out till much later. Because this intro has a different introduction, and the fact that KTech is not mentioned makes me think that this is the original Tuning Racer intro. The final version of Too Fast Driver changes things around to be more in line with Maluch Racer 2, by including the KTech logo as well as a rough cut where the text before the Play logo should be. The menu of this demo does not feature fonts, and since my version of Windows is English, the text looks corrupted. There are shading options that can be changed, unlike in the final build. The menu also only allows 1 or 2 time filtering. There is no logo on the title screen.
The Maluch Racer 2 flying text is still present.
The background has 2 Maluchs and text telling you that the demo is only for publishers. There is no red stripe, and the logo is quite large. The buttons on the right are slightly different in terms of the look and in terms of the text. The Go event button is called Career, which is actually more in line with the Polish translation. No idea why that got changed in the final. Career mode and single race have been switched around in this build too. In the following demos, you launch the track by choosing single race, while here you do so with career mode. There are far less races available, for some reason. The City of Lights is called Night City, and there are 2 tracks that can be played. Rather by accident, I think, since the second track allows you to drive the Cabrio, even though you're only supposed to be able to drive the Red Thunder, but we'll get into that shortly. The next demo that we have is the Maluch Racer 2 demo version 0.99. This was compiled between the 6th to 14th of February and was released on the 16th. The first thing that we can notice in this demo is that TMT Television was the initial sponsor, which later got changed to ITV. TMT is featured both within this intro as well as in the menu and on the stands. Because I lose motivation quickly and might not get to release my third Maluch Racer 2 video, I'm going to throw out a pretty big fact here. Trabi Racer accidentally features TMT and Interia advertising in the karting track, despite coming out in 2006. I have no idea how the developers made such an obvious accident using textures that weren't supposed to be used. Anyway, back to Maluch Racer. There are still shading options in the menu. There is a font here now, however it's different to the original. We still only have 1 and 2 time filtering. Miasto Wieczorem is the only playable map, with Cabrio being the only vehicle. There is also a later demo which would have been released around the same time the full game came out. This demo features the same map, however with Red Thunder being the playable car. This version of the game has ITV advertising and does not reference TMT. These ITV adverts are on the vans, on the stands, and on these things which I don't know the name of. Now let's get onto the gameplay differences. In Too Fast Driver demo, the countdown states 3, 2, 1, go. The font is different to the final game and that of the Maluch Racer 2 demo. The full release of Too Fast Driver reverts to the Polish text, which is 3, 2, 1, start. One of the storefronts has a different colour, with blue and yellow on the Too Fast Driver demo and blue and orange on the Maluch Racer demo. The blue and orange colour scheme was the final one. On the barriers, the 2 Fast Driver demo says play games. Every other version, including the final build, says play CompL. One of the buildings has not loaded in the 2 Fast Driver demo, showing a void behind it. The collision detection still works though. This bug was not present on the Maluk 2 demo. Both demos lack the HUD telling you which lap you're on, the time, etc. There's also no text when you pass checkpoints or win a race. The 2 Fast Driver demo features the Play logo on the stands, while the Maluk 2 demo features the TMT logo. In the final build of 2 Fast Racer, advertisements for Play's magazines/games get used. In the final build of Maluk 2, ITV advertisements are featured on the stands. However, in the later revisions of Maluk 2, these revert back to the same adverts as on 2 Fast Driver. Both demos are much blurrier than the final games due to only having 2 times filtering. Also, as spoken about earlier, you are able to choose the Cabrio accidentally in the 2 Fast Driver demo. We can see that this car wasn't finalized as it's all shiny instead of just the bodywork being shiny like in the Maluk 2 demo. Both demos only feature 4 songs. The text formatting is different in these demos and the names of these songs are different too. Eddie Caplitz was originally called Don't Play It, X Sexies was originally called First Sound, and Execution was originally called Red Tunnel. Both track1.ogg files are not the same, with the full song being bigger in kilobytes. The final version sounds less compressed. The songs are identical in terms of composition, however in terms of mixing, you can hear that this beta has some sounds louder than the full version, however this could just be due to compression. Track 2 and Track 6 are once again not the same files, although they are the same size. They are also identical to one another, to my ears anyway. Track 3 and Track 8 are completely different. Have a listen. We can hear throughout this song, and especially in this part, that different instruments have been used. The funny thing is that the beta track actually sounds more complete. The final song is very boring as it's very repetitive, while in the beta, the little twangs here and there make it a much better song. We can see by the waveforms that both songs are pretty similar in terms of their composition, but not identical. Towards the end we can see that the final song goes into a quiet segment, quicker than the beta. The songs also start and end differently. Track 4 on the beta and Track 7 on the final are basically identical, except that the final song is much quieter than both the beta and every other song. The file size is slightly bigger on the beta song. I have briefly already touched on this, but I will just reiterate. The final version of Maluk 2 features sponsorships from Interia and ITV. However, once these sponsorships expired, the developers reverted back to the non-sponsored textures. And since it makes no sense for the English game to have adverts for Polish newspapers and games, it is safe to say that the 2 Fast Driver textures are the ones that Maluk 2 would have featured if it didn't have partnerships. And in fact, that's exactly what happened later on. The fact that the 2 Fast Driver beta doesn't mention the magazine adverts anywhere actually makes more sense for a non-Polish audience, but I guess it was easy for the developers to have one set of textures for both games, as a lot of Polish text was left on the tracks in the English game. Another fun fact is that the textures would have been changed just 2 more times.
In Chesky Ride and for the final time in Trabi Racer.
For those of you who aren't Polish and didn't know, Maluk 2 was released multiple times throughout the years with different classic cars and sometimes with new tracks. Anyway, have a look at this texture comparison. funnily enough, they have never changed the Maluk Racer 2 text from the Nighttime City track, so yeah, pure laziness on the KTEX part. Also, Need for Russia 1 has accidentally used the version of the Snowy Gokine track from Chesky Ride as opposed to the one from
Trabi Racer.
There are multiple versions of these KTEC games that featured real-life advertisements. There exists a KFC version of the game with billboards being replaced with the KFC logo. I also own a version of Trabi Racer with Reebok barriers. Since this isn't my copy, I don't know what disc it came from and if that disc made a mention of this, if this is even a special version of Trabi Racer at all, or if every Trabi Racer copy came with this Reebok ad. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the differences between versions of Maluk Racer 2 and versions of other KTEC games. I would love to revisit this topic if I find out more info to share with you guys, but for now, thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.